This is Walking with Jesus Christ. And this series is about how we use money. More specifically, how we use God's money. Because we've determined that it's not our money. Now, if you've turned on the news in the past 25 years, you've probably seen pictures like this. It seems like regular clockwork. Every few years, we have another complete economic meltdown. And financial advisors will tell you that this is how the market works and you shouldn't get worried about it. But when you see your life savings disappear in a single day, it's hard to understand what they're saying. You quickly come to realize that you can't depend on money. That's the topic of our next session. Don't depend on money. There's an important lesson I want to state right up front. What we'd like everyone to understand is that trusting in money is the same as not trusting in God. God wants us to turn to Him and to have faith that He will be there for us. Money stands in the way of developing that kind of relationship with God. I really like how Paul explains it to Timothy in 1 Timothy 6, verse 17. As for the rich in this present age, charge them not to be haughty, not to set their hopes on the uncertainty of riches, but on God, who richly provides us with everything to enjoy. It's easy to do. If you have some money saved up, you look at your statement that comes in, and you start to get a little confident that you're doing okay, you're going to be fine. You start saying things like, I've taken good care of myself. You start leaving God out of the equation entirely. But riches are uncertain. One day, everything can change. Instead, Paul instructs us to start saving up something more permanent. Continue reading in 1 Timothy 6. We'll look at verses 18 and 19. They are to do good, to be rich in good works, to be generous and ready to share, thus storing up treasure for themselves as a good foundation for the future, so that they may take hold of what is truly life. Be rich in good works. Be generous. Riches are uncertain, but God is not. God is more concerned about who you are than what you have. Possessions, no matter how great they are, all fade and get old and decay. No matter what it is, the joy and the excitement fades away. It stops working. It loses its shine. Let's go back to Matthew 6 again and continue learning from Jesus at the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew 6, verses 19 and 20, where He says, do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. If you are generous, if you've dedicated your life to a life of good works, you don't have to worry about the stock market. You don't have to worry about what kind of security system you have at your house. You've placed your treasure in heaven. You aren't trusting on the material things of this world. And look, there's another lesson in Matthew 6, verse 21, where Jesus says, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. If your focus is with God, then your heart will be with God. If your focus is with material things in this world, then that's where your heart will be. And material things are temporary. Someone breaks in and steals it. Or more likely today, someone will do something illegal and with a single keystroke wipe out everything that you've saved. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what you're saying sounds right, but it also sounds hard. And I agree. Trusting in God is hard. It's not like God sends you a quarterly statement to let you know how you're doing. You have to trust Him, and that's hard. I really appreciate what David says in Psalm 37, 23 to 26. He says, the steps of a man are established by the Lord when he delights in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be cast headlong, for the Lord upholds his hand. Verse 25, I have been young and now am old, yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken or his children begging for bread. He, the righteous, is ever lending generously, and his children become a blessing. God cares for you. That's the truth. I appreciate that message is hard to receive, but it's true. Understanding that we can't trust in money is an essential part of understanding the nature of man itself. We are not eternal. We all die. Part of our hope is to be changed. We know that when we are resurrected from the grave, we will be changed. We'll be made immortal. But meanwhile, everyone dies. The rich, the poor, the wise, the fool. If we read from the New King James Version, what David says in Psalm 49, verses 16 to 18, you see it quite clearly. He says, "Do not be afraid when one becomes rich, when the glory of his house is increased. For when he dies, he shall carry nothing away. His glory shall not descend after him. Though while he lives, he blesses himself, for men will praise you when you do well for yourself." I love that last verse. Men will praise you when you do well for yourself. Sure, when you're doing good, when you're popular and you're wealthy, right? People are going to praise you. They're going to say you're doing a good job. But remember the verse right before that? When he dies, he shall carry nothing away. Remember in our previous session we talked about we brought nothing into this world and we cannot take anything out of the world. No matter who you are or how well you've done in your life, these next verses in Psalm 49, verses 19 and 20, really should stick home. He shall go to the generation of his fathers. They shall never see light. A man who is in honor yet does not understand is like the beasts that perish. If you don't understand what God's plan for the earth is, if you don't understand what God's plan for you is, what God wants from you, then you're like the beasts that perish. You're born, you live, you die. There's more to life than that. Focus your life on something that's eternal. Make your life about something that lasts. Okay, we're talking about walking with Jesus Christ, and the lessons are about the use of money. We've got one more session together about the use of money. Our final topic is about debts and loans. Find that lesson. We'll wrap things up.